What being a Jew means to me is all about traditions and all about the cultural environment. It provides a center for me because being a Jewish person, there are rules and they kind of help me guide my life and they help determine how I should live to be deeply faithful or committed or spiritual. The chuppah represents a canopy that houses a groom and a bride under one shelter, if you will, as they begin their lives together as a married couple. And so, traditionally speaking, they would get married under a tallis or a prayer shawl. And as times went on, I think they become more elaborate and people would use different toppings or coverings to canopy their bride and groom. My chuppah is very personal and it's a wonderful story. When I was engaged to Daddy, we were sitting around looking at bridal magazines, or I was sitting around looking at bridal magazines, and Daddy was interested in looking at what I was flipping through and seeing, and he was looking at the magazines for the articles. And one of the articles he showed me was of interest to him about how a bride and groom can send squares to family members and close friends and ask them to design something on the square and not tell them what they were using the square for. And when the bride and groom received these squares back, they would get a seamstress or someone to basically put all the squares together like a quilt and leave spots on the corners for holes for the poles to go into so that they could be walked in with the chuppah above them with all the squares of the designs that people sent them. Not giving the people receiving the squares an idea of what we're using it for, just for them to design something about us, left it really wide open. And the designs that we got back were anywhere from handmade needle points of Hebrew phrases to people putting pictures on there, going someplace and having them professionally put the pictures on their piece of muslin, which we sent. And the pictures were either pictures of us with the friend who was sending us the square, or ironically, each one of our parents took theirs and put baby pictures of us on there. And how interesting that was to have baby pictures of Daddy and me on top of us as we are now young adults getting married. So it was very unique to the person who was sending us the square, from very artsy to very eclectic. Mezuzot or mezuzahs are decorative pieces of artwork that could be made of any material. They could be metal, they could be ceramic, they could be paper. It's usually on the entry to a home, or depending on how religious you are or observant you are, you might have them on every doorpost of a home. And they're coverings. And what are the coverings? The coverings are a cover for a prayer that tells us to bind ourselves, the forehead and our arm, and then also to bind a prayer to our doorposts. And it reminds us that there is only one God, and to praise the God. It is a prayer for the people that walk through the doorway to walk through the doorway in good health and protect them. And it's supposed to represent that a Jewish person lives there. And if you're going visiting, somebody would kiss the when you come in, and it's a visual of a Jewish person's home. Identification. Growing up in a conservative household with grandparents who were very committed to being observant Jews, I would go to my grandmother's house and it just smelled of Judaism. There was always a hot meal, and there was always Jewish things around. There was menorahs that people use at Hanukkah. There were Star of Davids. There were Hamsas, which are the hand of God. And there were different pieces of art that just reminisce the old country in Europe. And so that, to me, made me feel at home. It made me feel comfortable. It was cozy. As I grew up, I moved out of an area in Philadelphia where Judaism was widespread to a southern city in New Orleans where it wasn't as readily available. There were a lot of Jews there. So the things that I started to find that were Judaica were more modern, because I was in an artsy town, were brought into places where I lived because it made me feel cozy and comfortable and proud to be a Jew. When someone came into my parents' house, they knew they were coming into a Jewish home. As a parent now, my pride and my joy is readily available, seen in my house, whether it is pomegranates that represent Israel or dreidels that I brought back from Israel, and other things that just remind me of being a Jew and being so proud. There are pictures in the house that reflect where we've been, where we've come from, who we've come from. And it's a visual reminder of the people that came before me that were proud to be a Jew, that fought to be a Jew, and that made me being a Jew just part of who I am. When I look at old pictures of family members, it all brings to mind the things that they've done and that they've seen and that they've experienced, and it makes me so proud to perpetuate that with my own family. That is a tremendous reminder of where I came from, and visually how Jewishness is embedded within me and how it continues to live on and just provide me comfort and joy. It's very comfortable for me to have a variety of different Jewish things reflect the joy of being a Jew around me in my home.